Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 31 of Knits and Pieces. We are a knitting podcast coming to you from Southwestern Ontario. I'm Noelle, and this is my friend Kelly.
Hi.
So we're here to chat about, we should say this is our regular podcast. So this is basically where we talk about our finished objects, what we're making, acquisitions. And so this is an actual episode. Whereas on Tuesday nights, we have what we call our knit chat, and that's just where it's very informal, and we kind of just talk about, what we're doing that week, what we're making. Sometimes we talk about knitting, sometimes we talk about other things. It just depends where the conversation goes.
That's right. We never know where it's headed.
No. But it's always fun.
It's always fun.
Yes.
It's always fun. Okay.
So it is. The time when we do that, the time goes by so fast.
I know we try to keep it to an hour and 15 minutes, but we're rolling up on an hour and 15 minutes and we're already saying, oh, we don't want to go, but we do. We try to keep a timeline. So, okay. So we should start off with some admin because we've got some prizes to talk about and some things to give away. So our first prize, or our first knit along that has come to an end, is the shift along. And that was a knit along, it was a knit along. Sorry, I was going to say a make along, but it was a knit along. And it was for any one of Andrea Mowry's shifty patterns. And we had quite an active group of people, and we had some absolutely beautiful, beautiful finished projects. And we have some prizes to give away. So we ran that for 3 months. So the first set of prizes is for patterns. Andrea Mowry has donated 3 patterns to this knit along. And I'm just going to announce the winners and then I'll run the slides below. So pattern number 1 went to random entry number 29, which is Luana 64. Pattern number 2 went to entry 11, which is Marnie Lee. And pattern 3 went to number 20, which is Sarah Chan. So slides coming now. Congratulations to all of the winners for patterns. And then Noelle has some yarn to talk about for another prize.
So this was, my daughter-in-law, Rachel, gave us this that we could give it away in the podcast. So this is 2 skeins of Noro, and this is their Silk Garden sock. So it is a blend of wool, silk, nylon, and mohair. So there is lots of people that do actually make socks with it, but this is almost, I think it's almost like a sport weight, but that would work well in any shifty project that you'd want to make. So absolutely. I think there's actually enough there. If you were going to do a shifty sweater, you could get a plain color for a background and you'd have enough there for all your blips and things in it.
Absolutely.
So that's the prize for the overall winner.
Right. And the random number generator chose number 30, which is Janie Tremblay. Yay, slide here. Yay, Janie. So thank you so much for everybody that joined in and knit along with us. And I know that Noelle made quite a few shifty projects, and so I think some of which we'll see today in your finished objects. And I ended up making only one, but I did make a shawl, and we're going to show that later. So then we have another prize to give away, and Noelle, I'll let you talk about this one.
Okay. For our socks, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is our year-long sock cal, which unbelievably at the end of August, there was already over 1,000 pairs of socks in there, which is like amazing. Yes. It's so nice to see all those socks in there, because I know you and I knit socks all the time, but it's nice to see that everybody else is in there, and they make great gifts. They're great for yourself. They're wonderful portable project so that you've always got something to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So how we run that is at the end of every month, we pull 2 winners, one for a pattern prize, which is generously donated by Natalie from Remembrances Pottery. And the other one is a yarn prize. And we actually go back right to the start of the year and do the number generator between the very start and where it was at the end of the particular month that we're in. So even if you've only entered one pair of socks, you've got chances all along. But the more pairs you enter, the more chances you have.
Mm-hmm.
So the winner for the pattern prize, Kelly will tell us.
Okay.
Who that was.
Random number generator chose 884, which is Cranky Witch, otherwise known as Beth.
Beth, yes, we found that out on Tuesday.
Put the slide in here for Beth's socks.
Okay, and then we also have, I think you've got the prize for this one, right?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do. So this month's yarn prize is from Full Moon Fibers.
Ooh,
and
so
it is a 50-50. This is really blowing out because of the bright light, but it's a 50-50 sock set. So you get 50 grams of Why Didn't You Coral Me? And you get 50 grams of Beach Umbrella. So this is our sort of last of the summer giveaway to wrap up August. And this is fantastic colors.
Mm-hmm.
So this will make a great pair of socks.
Yeah. Or you could do 2 pairs of shorties.
You could do 2 pairs of shorties,
yeah.
yes. So you could stripe them. You could, you could do heels, toes, and cuffs in something, or color work. But it's very beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. And the number generator chose number 278, which is Lynn of Four Pines Knitting. So here's her socks. Yay. Yep.
And the patterns and the workmanship in that knit along is amazing. Like the socks are all gorgeous. Like there's so many ones that I keep adding to my list of socks that I have to do.
We already couldn't knit all of the socks that we wanted to knit. And you guys are enablers. Like you're just showing us more sock patterns.
Very inspiring.
Very inspiring. There's some beautiful socks in there.
Well, it's the same with the shifty cow. Like some of the color combinations and some of the finished objects. Well, all of them actually. Like they're gorgeous. Like that. Just, I don't know. I could knit a whole lot more shifty things too because there was so many color combinations that I wouldn't necessarily have thought that, but look gorgeous together.
I know every finished project that popped in there, I'm like, oh, I want to knit that one. Oh, I want that one. I know it's terrible. It's terrible, but
well, it's not terrible.
All beautiful.
It's just we need a whole lot more time. That's all.
We need more time. Yes. Well, we discuss that every day. Yeah. And then we should also talk about what we've got going on right now. It started on September 1st, and that is our Fall for Shawl. Is that right? Now I'm saying it wrong.
Yes, Fall for Shawl.
Fall for Shawls. Fall for Shawls. Yes. And that is running from September the 1st until the end of October. And it is a make along because you can knit your shawl or crochet your shawl, or if
you can weave your shawl.
You could weave your shawl. I was going to say, is there some other crafty way that you can create your shawl? It must be a shawl pattern. And the only restriction, it can be a cowl as well, but it must have 100 grams of yarn in the project. And it had to have been cast on after September 1st. So that is carrying on in our Ravelry group. And
there's a very active chatter thread already on what people.
There's a very active chatter group in there. My goodness, they are chatting.
Looking for ideas, just head there. And I know, I mean, we already know that I already have a pile of shawls, and there's still more shawls that I want to knit.
Yes, at Noelle's last count, which we had a little video, we had some fun for that. She had 91 shawls, and I know she's knit a couple since then. So,
but I gave one away too. I actually gave 2 away. So.
But were those 2 in the 91?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, I gave my mom some that I had already knit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that she'll wear them. She borrowed them for a wedding, and I said, "Oh well, you can just keep them."
Nice, very nice.
So.
Okay, well, that will take us to what Noelle is wearing today.
It is okay. So it's just a really loose cardigan. I think it was called the Amiga cardigan. I've knit this so long ago, I honestly don't even have a Ravelry page for it. But I think it was called the Amiga cardigan, and I think it was by Mag Candace. I think it was a Nitty pattern, like from nitty.com.
Wasn't that a magazine though? Nitty magazine or?
But it's on, like, it's not a paper magazine. It's digital.
It's an online, right?
Yes. And the yarn it's 100% cotton. It was cotton flambe by, what was the one in Toronto? Americo.
Okay.
Americo Yarns. They used to have a yarn shop on Queen Street, and they used to sell through a lot of stores, but they've since closed. But this, it's 100%. It's like a slub cotton. It's so soft, but like this, consequently, because it is all cotton, kind of stretches out a bit. But then I just wash it, and you can throw it in the dryer for a few minutes, and it'll kind of go back to shape. But it's like perfect weight for this time of year, just for a little bit of warmth, but not too much. So.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. And I'm wearing the Cloud 9 tee, and this will be our segue into finished objects because this is my first finished object since our last podcast.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you. I quite like it. I meant to have it knit earlier in the summer, but I still feel like I'm going to have a fair amount of fall wear. It's quite short. I'm wearing it with a dress today. And this pattern is by Andrea Yetman, and it's actually designed, her original pattern calls for a fingering weight and a mohair held double. And I love that concept because that's how I knit my love notes. And I would not be opposed to making one in that combination as well. Mm-hmm. It was really, it was fun to knit. It's just, it's a little bit of an interesting construction. You do start and you knit across the front, but then you're adding on at the same time to do the back pieces. And then you take off for the arms and then you follow it down. So it was kind of interesting. And you join, I don't know which way I'm turning, this way. You have an exposed seam line. That is an option. She shows you both ways to do it. And I really liked the little detail of having that there. Mm-hmm. And then there's just a simple lace panel down the front. Now, the only true difficulty I had with this was the neckline. And I will admit I did the neckline 4 times because I just couldn't. And I think it has to do with the fact that I changed it. So the yarn that I used is Barocco Chai, and it is a linen silk blend. So it is classified as a DK. And I think just the way this yarn would lay, as opposed to how the softer combination of the fingering and the mohair would lay, made all of the difference in the neckline. So I couldn't get a neckline that was laying flat. Originally, I did all of the ribbing on the sleeves and on the hem in the same size needles as the sweater because I wanted the ribbing to just lay flat along with the sweater. But when I was doing that with the neckline, that was not working. So I did have to go down some needle sizes to get the neck to lay flat. But now that I've got it done and it blocked up like a dream, I really like it. And I made a size medium and I used 4.84 skeins of the Barocco Chai. So it was, I think, like if you had used a fingering, you would probably be using about half of that, like doubled. You would use half fingering, half mohair. So you could get away with this project for not much yarn, that's for sure. And I quite like it. The other thing that I guess I did differently too is I did add some short row shaping at the back, just because sometimes I find, especially in a crop sweater, you'll get like a back that sits a little bit too high. So I did about 10 rows of short row shaping just to kind of get a gentle curve. I think it ended up making the back of my sweater about 3/4 of an inch longer. And then that just gave me just enough so that it sits level when I'm looking in a mirror from a side view. And that's that. It was a great project. I really liked it.
I really like it too. So, okay, my first finished object I actually don't have with me because I just delivered it today. Oh. So that was the Overthrow Wrap by Joji Locatelli. I knit it as a sample for Leo and Roxy, so I dropped it off to them today. Kelly will put a picture in here of what it looks like. I loved knitting the shawl. It's a mohair shawl. The mohair is held double, but you have 5 colors. So you kind of, you do a couple of sections in one color, and then there's a couple of rows that separate it. So you use a dark contrast color to separate. But when you move into the next colors, before you move into the next color, you have a section that you do brioche with the 2 colors together, and then you move into the next color. So it was such a fun wrap to knit because it's all in sections, so you don't really get bored because you're doing different sections, and then you move into the brioche and then into a new color, and it just was really fun to knit. And the colors that I used, I didn't pick them, but they did. They were gorgeous. So they were 5 colors of mohair. I mean, it was the Leo and Roxy, their silk mohair blend, and it was Orange Crush. The second color was their Meredith, which is kind of like a light gray. That moved into Leo, which is their ivory creamy color. And then it moved into Geek in the Pink, which is kind of like a pinky corally color. And then it moved into Hey Girl, which is kind of like, it's not really a fluorescent pink, but a deep, vibrant pink. And then the color that outlined everything was their 80-20 sock. So it's like a fingering weight sock yarn. And it was the McSteamy, which is like a charcoaly gray color. So, but I probably will eventually knit that again for myself.
It's absolutely stunning shawl. And I believe that the colors that they chose to have it knit in are similar to Hohi's colors. Yes. Yeah. And it's probably not colors that you would walk into a shop and choose yourself, just because of the, that creamsicle-y orange and then that vibrant pink. And I think it might be tricky to choose colors, actually. So, but it was so beautiful when you finished with it.
I loved it. And those, I mean, the pinks, those were colors I would go in and pick. So for me, it was perfect. And it did have the brioche section in it. And I've only done brioche once. So it had the brioche sections in it. And I thought, well, whatever. So the first section, I had to rip it out a couple of times because I'd make a mistake. Not that I was doing it wrong, but I'd make a mistake and I had a hard time fixing it. By the time I got to the end of the shawl, I found it quite easy to fix the mistakes. Like once you just got doing it more and you could like really see how the yarn laid, I found it a lot easier to fix mistakes by the end. So I think just the more you do brioche, the more familiar you get with it. Just like even regular knitting, right? The more you do, the easier it gets. You can read it better. You can fix it easier. So yeah. So, and I thought brioche with the mohair might be tricky, but it was not. So it was fun. And that was with mohair held double. So I figure there's another mohair shawl that I'd like to do with brioche. So I think, okay, maybe I can do it now.
Yeah. Well, it's absolutely a beautiful shawl.
Thank you.
They must have been happy to see it today, were they?
Oh yeah, they really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be a real showpiece.
They've got plans of putting together kits with all different colors in it. So
I think I could envision one sort of like in a bright blue and the tealy greens with the grays
or even
too.
going down to like a pale green and then like the blues and the turquoise, and
yeah,
it would also look amazing if you did it in neutrals.
Well, maybe we'll have to wait for Jacqueline to show us what that would look like.
Does it, she'll do it.
She's the neutral queen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
okay.
So your next finished object.
How many? I should have asked. How many items do you have? And we could space it out.
I have 4 more.
Okay, I'll go next.
Okay.
So the next one that I have, and this is going to be tricky to show, so I will put I'll put a picture in too. It is the night shift. I can't even find the right way to hold it up here. Which way does it go? Here we go. Just keep flopping it around. It's the night shift shawl.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
So I'll just hide behind it for a minute. You can see how big it is. It's big. And I really like it. So I'll just flop it over here while I talk about it. This is my second night shift shawl.
That looks good with what you've got on.
Yeah. There's colors in here to go with everything. It's I use the Noro Akari, and they're big balls. They are they 200 gram balls, and they are a wool, silk, cotton, mohair blend. I think I got everything in there. And I used colors 7 and 16. And 16 is the orange, the green, the pink that you
Purple.
see,
Yeah.
and the purpley colors. And then the color number 7 is a whole host of beiges. And
Yeah.
I think that this will go with almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect. This is
Yeah.
one of those shawls. This is the shawl I love to travel with, because it turns into a blanket,
Yeah.
and it's a perfect fall shawl. Noelle, there's a story behind it. Noelle knit a first one, and I used it so much every time I went to her house or when we traveled that she said, "Knit your own." No, she didn't. But
I did
I'm
not.
sure she was thinking that. So I did. I knit my own, and it stays upstairs in my chair actually, and it's what I call my house shawl. But it goes in and out of the house all the time too. So then I bought yarn to knit a second one. This is not the yarn I bought for the second one. I still haven't knit it. It's actually still behind me. You can see it right there. There's one of them.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yep.
And but then a coworker caught the bug, and she knit this colorway, and she brought it in to show me, and I thought, okay, I totally have to have that one. I really, really like it. So this is what I did for our shifty knit along, and I couldn't love it more. It's just
Yeah.
it's a dream. But
I really like that too. And I have a ball of 16, so maybe I'll have to pick up a ball of 7.
it's so pretty.
We'll
It just goes with
see.
everything. It goes
I
with
know.
everything.
I know. I
But
know.
and it has a really clever construction. We should talk about that because it's all mosaic, and that's the whole premise behind the shifty movement, is that everything is mosaic. So it is color work, but you're only ever working with one of your colors at a time. So you basically, from your starting point where you have both yarns, you're going to knit across the row and then back the row in some fashion. That's
Right.
that's what the pattern is. And then I have mohair fuzzies now. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then you will knit using your other color. You're going to go across your project and back again.
Yeah.
So you're only ever using one at a time, but it just creates this fantastic looking color work. And it has an I-cord edge as you go. And then you also bind off with an I-cord. So it ends up, there's an I-cord on all three sides of the shawl. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
There were a lot of night shifts that were made in the shift along cal, or the shift happens cal, and actually I think quite a few people did use the Akari.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice when you're working with, what's nice with the Akari too, if you look at the original pattern for the night shift, I think she uses it's one of the spin cycle yarns, and I mean it's beautiful, but you've got 6 different colors, so you're switching colors all the time. With this and just the 2 balls, you've got your 2 starting ends to sew in, and then your 2 ending ends to sew in.
Right, because
so, unless you decide to like cut and switch halfway through, that's basically all you have to weave in at the end.
That's right. Yeah. And it takes the pattern itself is quite simple and memorable. So once you're onto it, it's easy to carry on without having to look at the pattern and decide where you should make your color changes. And I would just knit for so long, and then when I got to a point where I thought, oh, it looks like I should flip the colors, and that's all I was doing, was just flipping between the 2. And I also think that the fabric that this Akari creates is such a drapey fabric. I know that the Dream State is a little more of a substantial.
Yeah, well, I think it's wool. I think it's 100%
wool. And I'm not sure that I would like it as much as the way the Akari drapes, but it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I'm happy with it.
Yep.
It's warm down here today, though, to wear it.
I know. I actually had to take my sweater off, too. It turned out a lot warmer today than it was yesterday. But anyway. Okay, so my next finished object is my shifty sweater.
Which I love.
So this is done in, well, first of all, it's an Andrew Mowry pattern again. And I think the sweater is called Shifty, right?
The Shifty,
the sweater is called Shifty. So this is done in Connie yarn, which is the background yarn. So this color, their colors all go by color number, but this is kind of like, it's a faded gray. Like it goes from the light gray, it fades out, it goes back to the dark gray, and then fades back down again. And what I used for all the blips through it is a merino that I hand spun. It was actually just a package of like merino bits that I got just to practice spinning when I first started spinning earlier in the year. And I just made them all into one big ball. So then I just used that. I did, when I got to the sleeves, and I think I did pretty good. Like I kind of pulled
Yeah.
pieces just to match them up a bit so that the
Yeah.
sleeves would kind of match. I mean, they're not exact, but they're pretty close. And then made the same with the color fades. I wanted to keep the background doing the same as what it did in the sweater.
Mm-hmm.
So in this one, I did some modifications because this yarn is a little bit heavier than what Andrea Maurer uses. So I think I started off with the smallest size. I did do my own increases because the only size in the pattern that has the increases spaced evenly is the second size.
Okay.
And I didn't do the second size. So all I did was when I did an increase row, I looked at how many increases were in the row and just spaced them out evenly across the row. And then I didn't even do all the increases as I just tried it on as I went along. And once it was big enough across here, I didn't increase anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I did change under the arms a bit where I left more stitches under the arms and then cast on those stitches again when I went down for the sleeve, just so that I wouldn't have an extra fabric like in here. It just spread it out a little bit more. I did a 1x1 twisted rib, not sure if the pattern calls for that or not, and I did a tubular cast on. So that I did tubular bind offs at the bottom. I did twisted rib. I made the cuffs long enough so that if I wanted to fold them up, I could. And yeah, and I love it. But
It's really pretty.
it's not it's not cold enough out to wear it yet, because
Definitely not.
when you've got like it all over, like even though the yarns are like sport weight yarns, you've got double fabric all the way, so it's going to be like a fairly warm sweater. And it's kind of in between. It's like the length I like I don't like a super short sweater, but I like it to come to about my hip bone.
Right.
So that's about the length that I did. And that's a nice thing of doing a top down sweater, is once you get onto the body, you can try it on as you go along.
Absolutely.
So,
yes.
Now the Connie yarn comes in approximately 150 gram cake. So I didn't even use two full skeins of it. So, and I really like it. I don't know if you'd like it. It is a more rustic-y yarn.
But that's the type of sweater that wouldn't be against my skin anyway. I would wear a t-shirt.
No, you'd have something underneath it. Yeah. Yep. So I'm very happy with it. And that's my first completed adult sweater that has my hand spun in it.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for you.
I'm happy with that, because the spinning was so much fun, and I love color. But that one, it was just a whole big package, and there was brighter colors in it too. But all I did was I separated them kind of into I would say these are more autumny colors. I kind of separated them into that and into brighter pastels. And the ones that I did with the pastels, I made something for the girls, and then just put those kind of together, and they go okay together. You know, it's hard to know. Like, I mean, I'm new to spinning, right? I'm not sure how colors are going to go together when I'm doing it, but that was just practice. And I'm in that sweater. It looks fine.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks fantastic. Before we leave the shifty things, do you have another?
I do have another shifty.
You have another shifty thing.
I have my shifty socks. So I call these my soul shifters. So there is not actually a sock pattern, but I just put the pattern. I think it's the pattern from the sweater. I just put it into the socks. So I did toe up. The yarns that I used, the pinky colored yarn is Madeline Tosh Twist Light, and the color is called Coquette de. I don't speak French, but that's what it is. And then all the blips is Blue Water Fiber Art. She's an indie dyer here locally to us, basically in Sarnia, and that is called Something Wonderful. And okay, so what did I do? So I actually casted on a few more stitches than I would normally use. Like I would normally do a 64 stitch sock for me, but because the Mosaic will pull it in a little bit, I did a 68 stitch sock. When I did the sole of the sock, instead of keeping the pattern in the purl bumps, I just did stocking stitch. So it's still Mosaic, but I just did stocking stitch so you wouldn't have those lumps on the bottom of your foot. I did a shadow wrap heel, which I actually do really like that heel. That's what I've been doing lately. So I do really like that heel. And then once I got up to the top of the sock, I just continued the pattern using all the texture all the way around. And then at the top, I just did the twisted rib. I did a tubular bind up, but I knit one row with the contrast color first before I did that tubular bind up, just to give it a little pop at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Pop at the top. Go. And on one sock, the first sock, I actually did the heel in this color, but it was too much. I ripped it out. I didn't like it. I like it better. It looks more cohesive with it all in the one with just the blips. So one thing I can say is when you're doing mosaic, and I was doing the socks, it takes a whole lot more rows to get your 4 inches than it does when you're not doing it, right? Because when you do the mosaic, you're basically, when you go across one row, you're slipping a lot of stitches, and you're slipping stitches on the way back. So it's almost your row gauge really changes significantly.
Because it's compressing the row a little bit. Yeah.
So I think that's
maybe not compress. It's stretching. It's stretching the row. Yeah.
So So those are my soul shifters, and they were fun. So
my next things are sort of sewing, a little bit of knitting, but it's the baby train. So I'm just going to go through this quickly. So I've been basically sewing things. So my daughter is having a baby. If this is your first time watching us, you'll know it. If it's not your first time, you've heard nothing but for the past number of months. But she is due in October. And so I'm sort of at that point where I'm now just making little things for her to keep up in the nursery. So the first thing that I made was these little quilted, wow, and they're just not showing very well at all. There's LED lights down here. Sorry about that. If I hold it at an angle, they're just quilted burping pads that she can throw up onto her shoulder. And I'm making those out of flannelette and lining them with flannelette and then quilting them as well. So I made her a stack of those for the nursery. And then I made her a little bundle of receiving blankets. And I know that receiving blankets are not what the cool kids are using right now, but she still said she wanted one. So I chose some cute flannelette. Little flannel blankets, because they're using the swaddle blankets. Yes. But she said, I still think I want the little flannel blankets. So I made a few of those and some cute nursery prints. And then I did make the swaddle blankets as well. And so these are the swaddle blankets, and I've made a couple of them now, and they're so soft, and they're so they're just squishy, right? And they're made out of double gauze. So when you buy double gauze, it doesn't look like this. You have to wash it to get it to really look like this. And basically all I did, if anybody's wondering, for the blankets, I had to wash this first in order to so that it wouldn't all bundle up on the edges when I sewed it. So I washed it and then tried to square up the fabric as best you can with fabric that is wrinkly and crinkly. But and then I serged all 4 edges, and then I did a mitered corner and turned those edges in and just quickly stitch them down. So she's got a couple of those. And then the other thing that I did knit, I actually was just making some baby washcloths. Mitered square washcloths, and I was using the Knit Picks Dishy to make these. And the way I do them is just 65 stitches, and I use a 4 millimeter needle, and just do a basic mitered square. And then once I got down to 12 stitches on either side of the miter, I just went back to a solid color. And Dishy started coming a couple of years ago now. They started making them in these, it's more than just variegated. It's actually a twist.
It's like a marled almost.
A marl or a barber pole, however you want to call that. And so then I just pair that with a coordinating solid. And I find
I like that little or the little square of the solid at the end.
I find that the barber pole or the twist, the Dishy twist, is a little lighter in weight than the color, but it's also a little softer. So these make really nice little washcloths. And so I've just been making them up. These are just a couple that I've made in just some random colors. We don't know the gender yet. So I'm just sort of going through stash and using all sorts of colors. And then the other thing, this is a sewing project, and I'm using the brindle and twig patterns to make some baby clothes. And I've not I've not sewn baby clothes like this in a very long time. And this is the little envelope suit, and it comes as a short romper or long legs. So I've made one up for her, and I did make it in the newborn size in long legs.
That's so cute.
It is literally the cutest thing I've ever made. I swear. It's and then I ordered snaps, so I have little color coordinated snaps, and it just ties to the side, and it's soft cotton jersey knit. And then I just figured that there's no way baby could be footless and needed a little pair of
and they
knit
match
socks.
The fabric exactly.
Oh yes. Well, so the these are the perfect newborn socks. That's the title of the pattern.
The socks, yeah.
But they are also perfect newborn size socks, and they stay on their feet really well. And the pattern is a free pattern by Tabitha Gandy. And this took less than 15 grams. And it was a leftover of my Knit Picks Felici and a pair of socks that I had made for myself. And so out of a 50-gram skein, I got a pair of shorty socks and a pair of baby socks for a grand total of $3.69.
You got the shorty socks and
yes, they were just a tiny leftover ball, 15 grams.
Okay, so then when you did your shorty socks, so did you use a different contrast heel and toe or something?
I probably, I'm trying to think now what the pattern looked like. I'd have to look at it. Anyway, yes, I did. Sorry, I did. I remember now, because there's two color grays in here. This is like a bluer gray, and this is a taupier gray. Okay. And I had a gray that was almost a perfect match in my Knit Pick stroll. So I used that for the toe and the heel. So I did get, I think it takes, 35 grams to make a pair of shorty socks if you use a contrast heel and toe. Right. So then I had this tiny little ball left over in my, where is it? There it is. I have one of these things going on with little balls left over.
Oh yeah, for the blanket.
For the blanket, right. Well, now it can make a pair of socks. So 15 grams goes a long way when you're a baby. But these are so stinking cute.
They are. And I remember making all of those when the girls were little, and now their feet are bigger.
I know, but
I mean, they're not a whole lot bigger, but still.
But I was happy with the way even this turned out, like with this blanket, and this has the gray in it, and then this. And I thought, you know what, this might be my new baby gift moving forward for other people, because it was just really fun to make. And I thought,
I could still have a baby, like I'd get pregnant just
just so I could make clothes for you.
Wait a minute. No, I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. But anyway, highly recommend those little patterns. And Brindle and Twig is going to be getting a lot of business from me. That's what I can say, because as I said, I didn't really knit, or I'm mixing up my crafting. I didn't really do a lot of sewing with knitwear at all, ever. It's always been woven fabrics. So I've had a serger for a long time, but I didn't really ever use it for knits. And this was just really fun. So it was a little something different than what I'm used to working with. And it was really fun to do. And it worked up quickly. And it's just going to be super cute, because seriously, I'll sew from...
I need one of those envelope suits.
I know. I mean, I can sew for myself, but the baby's going to look cuter in it than me, right? So anyway.
Yes, it's adorable.
Okay. So that's wrapping up the baby parade and my FO. So you've got some more.
I just have a couple more pairs of socks. Okay, so on one knit chat a couple of weeks ago, we somehow got into talking about DK weight socks. So I had to try them. So this is, I just used the stitch count from the Crazy Sock Lady, has a DK pattern. I'm not sure what it's called, but I didn't really follow her pattern. I just looked at that for the stitch count. So all I did was a 2x2 cuff, and for my size, and I would normally do 64 stitches for me for a regular sock, I did 40 stitches. And then she had a different heel in here, but again, I just did the shadow wrap heel. But what I did different about it was, because when you do the shadow wrap heel, when you're going back, when you're increasing again, you actually make triple stitches. Well, triple stitches is pretty thick in the DK yarn.
Mm-hmm.
So before I started to do the increases, I actually went and knit across like a row to knit them all, and then back to purl them all, so that you were starting with just like a fresh row of plain stitches. So you're really just doing double stitches again. So, and that was good because it was only 40 stitches in the heel. So it actually made your heel a little bit longer. So then when I went to go back and pick up to continue down, I just did like one little stitch in the gusset, picked up another little extra stitch in the gusset. And then when I went around on the next row, I just decreased those. So I was still 40 stitches down into the foot of the sock. And then just a rounded toe. And this yarn is Lion Brand Mani Pedi. It is actually a fingering weight yarn, but I had 2 skeins, so I paired them up and I held them double. And I think I did a pretty good job of holding them.
I was really impressed the fact that the commercial yarn would be that perfectly dyed, that you could do that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought.
Pretty much exact.
It is. It's like, because that's what I remember asking you that when you showed them to me. I said, if you held them double, how did you get? So kudos to Lion Brand.
Well, there might have been 1 or 2 times where I maybe pulled about this much, but it was more because of where I started on it, where I pulled that much and kind of snugged the other yarn up to it.
Okay.
But I would say I think I might have did that in 2 spots, because what was hard was to find where my starting point was again when I went to the second sock. Right, because I didn't know for sure, because you can see the purple repeat is more this, whereas I only had a couple rows at the top, so I kind of had to figure out yardage of how much to leave off.
Yes.
So yeah, but super happy with them. They fit nice, they feel nice, but I don't think they're going to replace my fingering weight socks, because they'd be pretty thick to get into like my Blundstones or.
But I think they'd be really nice when we're wearing winter boots, right?
Yes.
Because then we need that little bit of extra thickness.
Yeah.
So I haven't done them yet, but I still want to. Yeah. Lord knows I have enough stash to do so.
Well, as I said, even if you don't want to like go on an order, and there are actually a lot of indie dyers now are dyeing up
DK sock set,
actual sock yarn that's got nylon in it. But if you don't want to buy that, you can always, take this is less than 100 grams. So you can take your fingering weight skeins and just hold it double.
And I think we talked about that too one night when you and I were chatting. So I said it would be fun to not match the yarns, but like to take a solid yarn and then put it with something else that will coordinate, and then you'd get a marled effect. And that would look nice too.
And then maybe do your heels and toes just in a solid.
In a solid, like two of the solid,
nice
right?
Yeah. And again, you could do an indie dyed self-striping, and a lot of them come in the 2 skeins and you can hold those double and get your striped.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and you also maybe could do like a fingering weight and a mohair, even though that might make it slippery on the bottom, but it would make really warm socks to wear.
They would be warm. Yeah, they would be really warm.
So that's those. And then my last finished object here are my Lucky Dip socks. So this is another pair done for Christmas, and these are the Willingdon socks. This is by Elizabeth McCartan. Now, unfortunately, this was a free pattern on Ravelry, and it still says free pattern, but the link is not there anymore.
Oh,
so I'm not quite sure what happened with that, but they're kind of a really neat pattern. If you look, it's like a, I call it a drunken rib, because it kind of, it's kind of like what my rib looks like to me after I've had a couple of drinks. Anyway, but I thought it was just a nice way to put a pattern into like a self-patterning yarn, so that it's not so boring just knitting plain down. So this is for one of the men, one of my sons, my grown sons. So again, just a 2x2 rib at the top. I did again the shadow wrap heel, because it seems to be my new favorite. And yeah, so that's my, what month is that? 8th. Right?
Yes. August 8th. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So I have my next one pulled. I don't have them started yet, but my next one, the yarn that I pulled was a West Yorkshire Spinners, and it's one of their Christmas colorways. I think it's the Fairy Light. So it's a more feminine looking color. So it'll be for one of the, so I'll only have to do like a 64 stitch sock this.
I think that's the colorway that you have there, though. I think that would be good for male or female, because I would wear that. I like that color.
I just had less more masculine looking one. So when I pulled
Right.
out one that could be masculine, it went to a guy's sock. But and this yarn is opal.
Opal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say it's one of my favorite sock yarns. Like it feels nice to knit with. It's definitely not merino soft, but I think it's a good hard wearing sock, especially for people that might throw it in the washer and dryer. Or so.
Those are the yarns I like to knit with for giveaway socks, because then if something goes awry, they're still okay. They're still wearable.
You know what? Like I knit myself a pair of those socks. They were one of my favorite pairs to wear. Like I love the feel of them in my hiking boots.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Okay, that's it for me for finished objects.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we can move on to whips.
We can move on to whips. Okay, so my first whip is another sample that I'm doing for Leo and Roxy. So I am doing the Weekender by Andrea Mowry, another Andrea Mowry pattern. So this is the Weekender pattern. It's done in, I am alternating. This is the Leo and Roxy, the merino worsted, and this color is patches to patches. I love this color. It's like
I do too.
It's kind of like a tonal gray base, but then it's got like navy and fuchsia and gold and just really pretty. So anyway, so when you do this sweater, you kind of do it inside out. So that's the inside. So the actual outside of the pattern, when you wear it, will be like this with the slip stitch going down the center front and the center back. So
I like the pooling. I really like the pooling on that.
Yeah, it's pretty. Well, I love that pink in it. I like that's going to look amazing with jeans, a pair of jeans.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, so in alternating the skeins, I'm trying to make sure that when I switch yarns, I'm doing it like in the middle of this slip stitch.
Okay.
So you can't see anything on this side. And then I should be able to weave those ends down where that slip stitch, because they'll go in behind the,
right.
So I'm hoping that I can do it so that you have the choice of wearing the sweater this way or
that way.
So I'm trying to hide all the seams in something. So the way when I'm doing it with this, there will be no joins anywhere other than in that slip stitch down here, right? Because I think like the stocking stitch side of it looks good too.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, but I'm not going to be the one wearing it, but I'm trying to do that just to see if it'll work out. So it's got, don't want to lose stitches off the end here, but I did.
Uh-oh.
Yikes.
Uh-oh.
I know, knitting emergency.
Use your end stoppers.
Don't call 911 on your phone like you did the one time. That wasn't fun, Kelly.
That was not. No, it wasn't. Our first time podcasting.
This pattern does have a split hem. So the back is a little bit longer than the front. But it's got a tubular cast on, and that is actually called for in the pattern.
Yes.
And I think also when you get to the top of the neck, it's a tubular bind off. Okay, so I'm actually almost up to where I'm going to divide at the armholes for that. So,
okay.
And I actually did a swatch.
What?
I actually did a swatch.
Is that your first ever swatch?
I think it's the first swatch that I've done and actually washed. I wanted to block it because I know superwash really stretches out. So I wanted to make sure. So I'm actually using smaller size needles than what Andrea Mowry calls for.
Okay.
Because when she did it, her original pattern is done in Brooklyn tweed shelter, which is a very rusticy, non-superwash. So it's not going to stretch out a whole lot. So I think she calls for like doing the body of it in a 5.5. I'm doing it in a 4.5.
Oh, that is a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I actually have a picture of the swatch to prove it. I took a picture of it because I knew Tracy would want to see it. So maybe I'll send you a picture of the swatch and you can put it in there.
Okay.
But yeah, so and that is one thing to keep in mind when you're working with superwash yarns, that you can get a lot of stretch after. So
Yes.
it's a good idea to swatch and wash and block your swatch.
And that may be okay in a shawl, but it's not so fun in a sweater.
No.
Yeah.
No. So
Good.
And again, it's not a sweater. It's not a sweater that I'm doing for me. So it's not like I can try it on as I go along and see how it's working. So yeah, so I did do a swatch. Wasn't
It's
that
very
bad.
pretty. Wasn't that bad? Did you do a full swatch or an abbreviated swatch?
I started with a 5, and then I went down to a 4.5, and I did it in the round. I have my loops going around the back of the yarn, but then I did rip it out because I didn't want to waste the yarn. I did rip it out and knit it. So
fair enough.
That's why I had to take a picture just for proof.
All right. Do you have another one? Because I really only literally have one that I'm going to show.
Okay, I am knitting. So these are not my lucky dip socks, but this is just another pair of socks that I'm knitting.
That's a really pretty pattern. I like that.
I like it. This pattern is called Amina, and these are by the Kitchen Sink Shop. Mm-hmm. And I am doing them in lichen and lace. This is their 80/20 sock. The back of this has a really nice texture detail too. Actually, the back is kind of like the pattern that's in Hermione's everyday sock.
Yes. Yeah.
But really nice pattern. And I love the lace pattern in the front. So this color is called Sugar Plum, and it's kind of more like, it is kind of a little variegated, but it's kind of like a tonal variegated because it's all in that mauvey plum tone.
It's really pretty.
Yeah. So I like those, working on those.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I can do this. Okay. I just started this actually. So the reason I don't have whips to show is because the whips that I've showed before, I haven't really worked on them. I was busy finishing off the shawl and then
and your sweater.
And my sweater. Yeah. Yes. So I didn't want to show them again if I hadn't done any work on them. So what do you do when you're behind on knitting? You cast something else new on. So
that's my girl.
Why the heck not? So what I'm making, and this should be a quick knit. I'm making a sweater, but it's a teeny tiny sweater.
Oh, that's cute.
So I'm actually making the newborn vertebrae, and I'll try to find a picture of the pattern. 1 million people have made this. It's by Kelly. It's by Kelly Van Niekerk, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. And it's only like, she has a free pattern that's in the newborn only size, and then she has a paid pattern if you want to make larger sizes. And the idea
it even goes up to the mama size that you can
it
wear.
Does. You can
wear it pregnant.
Yeah. So the premise behind it is that it's a cardigan that sort of just ends at the ribbing, and the ribbing is off to here. So there's nothing at the front. So if you have a spilly baby, as she calls it, or a pukey baby, as I would call it, because I had one of those, you know that the fronts of sweaters can get easily stained. And so this basically is just something to keep them snug around the back and around the shoulders. And so when you're snuggling baby and they're, they look like a little turtle, and it has a longer, kind of curves down under their butt too. So I knew that I wanted to make this because I didn't really want to make a multitude of sweaters for a newborn size, because I realized that it's a short lifespan. So I chose this yarn, and this is the second time I'm using this yarn. I just want to say,
I know, I like it.
I love this yarn. But I started it in socks, and it is called Gray Skies Rainbow by Mothie and the Squid. And I love it, but I didn't like the way it was working up in the socks. So I took it out, I repurposed it into this little cardigan, and I'm getting a little bit more of even colorations. I don't plan to finish this before the baby is born. I want to have the sweater finished and everything done up to the band. And then depending on whether grandbaby is a boy or a girl will determine how I finish it. So Knit Picks Felici has this exact blue.
Okay.
And they also have that exact purple or pink, and they have the highlighter yellow. And I happen to own all of them. So I will, if I get to BC before the baby is born, several skeins of Felici will be packed. Is
it Felici or Stroll?
Sorry, Stroll. Yes, Stroll. Yes, they're all
solids.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, but if baby gets there ahead of me, then I'll know what color I'm taking.
Yeah.
But it's such pretty little
It
knitting.
is. I like that.
And I really like the gray.
Yeah, I really like gray yarns that have like, because you see more of the cream and the ivory that have got a lot of the blips and the speckles, but I really like the gray.
Yes, I really like the gray. And I think for me to have loved it for socks, these blips needed to be shorter, because what I was getting was sort of a long piece of color in a sock, and it just wasn't, I wasn't loving it.
You expected.
It wasn't what I expected, but I couldn't love this color more.
Right.
I just wish it had just looked different on my sock, but I'm really liking it as a baby vertebrae. So,
or that colorway probably would be good for a hat.
It would be good for a hat. I also think I would like it in a shawl, because you would have longer rows. But for something as short as a sock, I think, because the way the skein looked, so it was like a solid skein, but then they just had the blip of color up at the top of the skein. But it's longer runs of color, because in one run of color, it goes like you do 3 or 4 rainbow colors in one run.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit longer, and somehow that just wasn't translating to a sock for me. And that's the way my brain works.
Yeah.
Because it just likes to see things evenly spaced. Already when I started this, I was getting more on one side than the other. And I thought, am I going to be able to continue with this? And I'm like, yes, you are, because this will be perfect for a baby. The colors are the best.
Yep.
So that is one whip. You carry on. I've got one last thing I'm working on.
So we started our fall for shawls make along. So I had to start a shawl. So this is pressed flowers.
I'm in love with that shawl. That is beautiful.
I love knitting it. I love the colors. This is a pattern by Amy Christophers, and this is all, again, mosaic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only ever one color across the row, right? Because you're working with slip stitches, and the back even looks sort of cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the yarns that I'm using, and I know that is coming up like it looks black, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But I know that
the background color is this. It is Juniper Moon Farms Patagonia.
Okay, so it looks green there. Yeah,
but it is a dark green, and then the color that I'm using for the contrast is no, it's not Connie, it's Freya. This is Fine Hand Paints, and this is her Ombre Sport. So it goes from the cream out to the pink. So the very first ball that I've used, the one that I'm finishing off, it was actually wound the other way, so the cream was on the outside. So you started with the cream, and then it fades to this, and then when I go to the other ball, I'll do it the other way, so it fades back out to the cream.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I can't emphasize enough how much I love doing mosaic.
Right.
And the result that you get looks so much more complicated than what it actually is to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there was kind of an ingenious thing at the start of this shawl. You actually do a provisional cast on of just a few stitches up at the top here, and then you graft them together. So you get a perfect line across the top of the shawl.
I think we should start doing that for other shawls.
How that translates into like doing another shawl, because I don't like when you do a garter tab and then you kind of get that
hump,
like kind of like a hump in the middle of your shawl.
Right.
But you probably have to do some fiddling around with the number of stitches depending on how fast your shawl increased. Not sure. It's some research that I'll have to do to find out about that. But I'm just really enjoying working on this. Like it's kind of like doing the night shift.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's kind of, you don't really even have to think that much about it once you've done one set of the flowers and you kind of know how they go. And then it's not even just the flowers are kind of done like they're stocking stitch, but then you've got all this texture in the other.
So what's the fabric like? That's going to be
it won't be quite as drapey as that, but it's pretty, like it's not stiff. right? And it's not block jet either. So
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful.
but they're like basically the Juniper Moon Farm it's listed as a DK, but it's really, to me, I think it's more like a sport weight because it's 350 meters in 100 grams. So basically, I think it's like I have used it in a fingering weight pattern. I've used it in DK because it's kind of one of those yarns that depending on the drape and that, like the fabric that you want, it kind of can be used for different purposes, right? So like an actual DK, you're not going to end up with a really heavy sweater with it because it's going to be looser. But then because it is a more rustic non-superwash yarn, once you block it, it kind of poofs up and fills in.
Right.
So,
well, it's very pretty.
Thank you. So that's that one. Did you have another one?
Well, since we're talking about our fall for shawls,
okay.
When you and I were in Columbus at VKL 2 years ago, there was a shawl there that I saw. It's actually a crocheted shawl, and I took a picture of it because I don't know if it was the color combination or the shawl or just everything together. I really, really liked it. And it's been saved in my favorites, just waiting for the right time. So I think this is the right time. And it's called the Tidal Fades Shawl by Fiber and Fox. And we saw it in 3 sort of high contrast colors. It was a navy, like a burnt orange, and a cream, I think. So I had decided, I knew that I wanted to do these 2 colors right here, which it's definitely not as gold as you're seeing, or it's not as gold as I'm seeing on my screen anyway. It's a straw. It's like a straw. Yeah. Okay. So it's like a straw gold. But I had bought these 2 together at a shop that I'm going to talk about in acquisitions. This is Richard DeVries, and it's his DK. And this one is called Honey on the Go, and this one is called Solstice. So I really liked them together. But this one has some faded blue and little flecks of blue as well. So I thought they would look really nice together in a project. Well, when I looked this pattern up again today, because I sent you off on a mission to find me some cream with little blips of color, she actually is showing it using 2 that are very similar, and she fades them, and then you have 1 contrast. So because this has the blue in it, which you can see at the bottom, I actually think I'm just going to stick with this. So there's like a little bit less contrast between these 2, but then you do get this high contrast. And I think this is going to be beautiful. And it's crochet. And I haven't done crochet in a long, long time. So I'm looking forward to that too, because it's something different. And typically I find crochet pretty quick. So.
Well, yeah, it is a lot quicker than knitting.
Yeah. But I really like the way these look. And then this one is the Sweet Georgia, and it is a superwash DK. But again, since it's in a shawl, I'm not going to be so concerned if anything stretches out. That can only be a good thing.
DeVries is superwash too, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't think so. Oh, sorry. This one is too. I was going to say it's not. Okay. So the whole shawl is superwashed. And
that's good, because then it should
it's perfect, because if it does, and if it stretches out a bit, it's a shawl, and I don't care. It's not a huge shawl anyway. And I also think that you won't get as much stretch with it because I'm crocheting it.
That's right.
That you would see with a knitted object anyway.
Doing it with crochet, you'd want to have a yarn that had a little more drape, because crochet stitches tend to be thicker and heavier,
a little stiffer. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a really pretty pattern. There may be a picture in here. There may not be a picture in here, but the construction of it is a triangle again, but then it has these gorgeous tassels with beads at the end. And so like in my mind, I was just seeing this with a denim jacket for fall. So I got to get on it because, it's fall, but I think this will really work up. This will work up really good. So it's not a whip, but it's a soon to be whip, because now that I've decided on the 3 colors, I'm good to go.
It's a whip in progress.
It's a whip in progress.
Okay, I can hardly reach this one. Okay, so my next one is by Miserina. So this is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. Her pattern actually has short sleeve, but I decided I wanted to do long sleeves. this yarn is the cream color again, is the Patagonia by Juniper Moon Farms. This is the ivory colorway. And then the contrast up here is hand spun. So the hand spun is 50 silk, 50 merino, and it's kind of like a goldy green bronze combo. I don't think I have any extra in here, but anyway. So that was, I only had 50 grams of the yarn and I still had a little bit left. Mm-hmm. And then the Patagonia, this is not quite 2 full skeins. I've still got, that's how far this yarn goes. I still have that much left of the second skein. But when I was at Little Red Mitten today, I purchased the third because I know that's not going to be enough to do a whole other long sleeve.
Right.
So the changes to the pattern, I did the neck basically exactly like she said. I really like that neckline. So it's just like, it's really nice.
Yeah. I mean, I've done the pattern too. And I did the short sleeve version, as you know. Yeah. It was one of my most fun yokes I've ever done. And I love that detail at the neck. And then in the short sleeve, of course, it's at the sleeves too. A little
bit of lace.
Yes.
And then
the cable and the cable in between Colorwork.
Yes.
I loved it. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah. Now for the Colorwork in this, I did do a new technique called Jacquard Ladderback. So if you can see in here on my cables, I actually carried the yarn in the middle of each of the cables. So that I wasn't carrying it across. I can't remember how many stitches it was now. But I thought, oh, I don't know. Should I try that? It might be hard. It was not hard. It wasn't hard at all. And it's so easy. And it just holds that down. So you're not going to stick your fingers into the middle of the loops. Even though I think if you work with like a non-superwash yarn, they kind of felt together a little bit anyway. And then I also added a few of them down at the bottom because you had to carry for quite a bit down at the bottom.
Yes. So the first couple of rows had a long carry. Yes.
But like super easy. And you don't see it at all on the front, like what you do if you were like looping it behind your yarn, because it actually creates a fabric that's totally separate from your main fabric. Like it's like a cage almost. You can explain it, but I could like it. I can't explain it, but I'll put in the tutorial that I use. But like if you look at, I could put my finger up this float because it's totally. See that? That's totally
independent.
Separate.
Yes.
Yeah, from your main fabric. So there's no part of that yarn that's going through to the main fabric, but yet it's caught and not so you don't have the long loop. So it kind of is, if you've ever done double knitting, where you've kind of got 2 layers of fabric.
Right. Okay.
It's kind of like that. You've actually got 2 separate layers of fabric. But I definitely will use that technique in the future when there's like long loops, especially when you're doing baby things, because with a baby garment, I don't want them to be able to catch their fingers or something inside if you're carrying a yarn over a long.
Right.
So
yeah.
And when I got down to the bottom of the sleeve here, I kind of followed the same detail. I just made the cup a little longer though, but then I did that kind of rolled edge because I just thought it was cute.
I really liked it too. It almost reminded me like of a corrugated rib, but it's not. It's just one color.
Yeah.
So I know that there were a lot of questions. Well, there's always a lot of questions in Caitlin Hunter patterns because she does tend to have a long float. And I've seen a few forums where I believe it's her assistant that is active in the forums or somebody that helps her out. And they said, like, do you catch the floats? Like that's a long stretch. Are you catching the floats? And her answer definitively was Caitlin does not catch floats. She embraces the long float. So I did that for the sweater. I let the floats are long in the back of my sweater. But me as an adult, I know that when I'm putting it on, I'm being a little cautious of it. Right. And I didn't have a problem with it at all. And so I didn't get, any lines where I've caught floats that it's showing, but that's a fantastic pattern. And I think especially, like you said, for kids.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm pretty sure that the technique that I followed was a tutorial by Suzanne Bryan. Suzanne?
Yes.
I always get Suzanne Bryan and Shirley Bryan yarns mixed up. It's Suzanne Bryan. I actually really like a lot of her tutorials. I find they're not long and wordy. and she's
Mhm.
right to the point of what you're doing. So I will link that down in the show notes. But yeah, I would knit this again in, like, that yoke was so much fun. It
I know.
really was. It just, and that I love the texture pattern, and it's so simple. And we
Mhm.
were talking the other day. I even like how that texture pattern looks on the
Inside.
inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that would make a nice outside.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, so that's that whip, and then the last thing I want to talk about as far as whips, and I know I've shown this before, but I'm showing it. This is my Yell cardigan, right? So we were talking the other night on Knit Chat, and we were talking about steeking. So someone had mentioned a felted steek. I had never ever heard of a felted steek.
Nope.
So
Nor had I.
that was just Tuesday. We didn't even say what day it was, did we?
No, we didn't.
It's September 10th.
The 10th, and it's a Friday.
Friday. So I ordered from Amazon. So this is my felting kit. So I am going to felt that steek.
You felt that
I'm going to
steek.
felt that steek, and I'm going to see how it goes, and I will let you know, because that will be so much easier to go up that and felt it before I cut it than having to sew down, especially when you get down into here where I've got all my
Yes.
ends. So I'm just
Yes.
going to spread the ends out and then felt it, and then they should be solidly in there. I might be a little bit afraid when I cut it, but I watched a couple of tutorials, and it
No, I
worked
think you're
for them.
fine because the yarn that you're using is such a
This is a
toothy
very
yarn. Yes. So
yeah.
I think you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
I've
So
seen
that's
so many like the Norwegian knitters and whatnot. The yarns that they use, they don't even stabilize that steek. They just cut into it and they just know it's going to be fine. So
yep. But anyway, so this is the Yell cardigan by Marie Wallen. It was kind of put on hold. I really loved doing it. I love the color work. I love how it's turning out. But it was summer. It's kind of, we had talked to you about, it's kind of hot to have a whole sweater in your lap when you're working on like the bands around or the sleeves. So a lot of my sweaters kind of got put to the side, but I have to get back to them and get them done. And I'm really excited to try that. So, because I really want to see what this looks like once I cut that open. And then I'll actually, once I cut that open and cut the sleeves open, I'll actually be able to, because the shoulders, I did a 3-needle bind off. So they're joined. So I actually could try
it on. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyways, and that is all done in Holst Garn Super Soft, which should be an amazing yarn for doing needle felting on.
It every time you show me that now, it reminds me of your press flowers shawl, the motifs.
Oh yeah. Well, let me tell you, this was a whole lot more work to do this motif than to do the press flowers motif. Yes. But still fun. Like, I mean, I like doing it.
Mm-hmm. Very pretty.
Okay. So that was, I can't remember who had originally brought up the needle felting, but like, we learn so much when we do the knit chat.
Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm.
And buy so much.
Yeah, some people think they tune in to learn from us. No, we're just there to learn from all of you. So
definitely. So I had to stay up that night to look at that, and I would have ordered it that night, except Ross was sitting right beside me on the couch.
Oh, darn Ross.
He's got a little beeper on his watch going off, telling him that I bought something. So that's it for whips. Well, that's it for active whips, right?
Yes. Yeah. Can we move on and talk about a few things that might have followed us home?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Do we want to?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So.
All right, Noelle, what followed you home?
Well, things didn't even follow me home. They just kind of came in the mail. So
pretty.
This is, where did I see this on? I saw this on the Woolly Thistle. And they're having knit along right now. And one of the sweaters, someone was actually doing this sweater that's on the front. And beautiful. This book just has gorgeous, gorgeous sweaters in it. I mean, yeah, like this one. We don't want to show any pattern. I don't think you could see that from there anyway. But it's also got kids sweaters in it. And then it's got some, like the edges that they put on some of them, like a little crocheted edge, are so pretty. There's some.
Oh, I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Trying to
beautiful.
find ones that just have pictures and not this. See, they have the crocheted edge down the.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then there's like kid size patterns. They're just beautiful. There's even colorwork knits.
Oh, pretty. Pretty.
So lots of ideas. Anyway, it's a gorgeous book. I love this book.
Oh, I like that one too. Yes. Very nice.
Anyway, but like quite a few, there's over 25 patterns in the book. And I mean, like you can even adapt like some of those stitch patterns to put it in a hat or put it in a pair of mitts or.
Absolutely. Right.
So,
yep.
But yeah, I really, really like that book. Okay.
Okay. Well, the first one I have, it may have followed me home, but I didn't buy it. I won it. And
that's pretty.
There we go. Back there. Way back there. When I move up there, it's hideous.
Oh, yeah.
There. That's a little better. If I don't know what's going on. But anyway, this is by Madison and State Fiber Co. And it is Yayo and Coney Island Queen. And I won this from Karen at a Yarn Tale. And she's a fellow podcasting friend that we've become acquainted with. And she had reached 500 subscribers. And I think her newest episode, she has now reached 1,000 subscribers and she's doing another giveaway prize. So if you don't follow Karen, you could check out her podcast and maybe have an opportunity to win something. I love these colors. I would totally pick that out in the store.
And
totally.
Karen is a relatively new knitter and like she's
fearless. She's so much fun to watch and she's fearless. So she just jumps in, but she's super nice person, super nice human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So I bought some more slub yarn.
Slub.
I'm not supposed to call it slub. Pebble. Moon rock slub.
I like that color.
I bought 3 of them. I love this color. I bought 3 of them, which should be enough to do like a whole pullover or a cardigan, like long sleeve. Because I love the one that I did, just the short sleeve little peep show pullover. I really liked knitting with it. I liked the fabric. So I got some more of that. This color is called Red Sky at Night, but it's actually really more like a burgundy.
It is. It's pretty.
And I haven't decided if I'm going to just knit it like this or hold a mohair or something with it.
I still think I want to get some of that slub and I want to make a raglan cardigan with it. Not a cardigan, sorry, a raglan pullover.
Pullover. Mm-hmm. There's a really nice pullover called the Millie, which is what I originally thought I might do with it. And I still might. So I don't know. Okay. So, and that's Full Moon Fibers. And then from Full Moon Fibers, I also bought, I just have one of them here, but I bought 2 of them. This is their Moon Dust Surrey. So this is baby Surrey alpaca and silk. And this is so soft. So soft. But so I got 2 of those. This color is called Stardust. So it's kind of just like a really pale peachy pink. So I don't
really
know
pretty.
That, but I just liked it.
Oh, you'll find something.
I'll find something. Okay, how about you?
Well, so my son got married in August. Noelle's son got married in August too. But our son got married up north in Varney. And we spent the night. There was an elopement wedding. So they were at a tiny little cabin, which was super gorgeous. And anyway, we stayed about a 20-minute drive away. We stayed overnight too, so that we could just, I don't know, take some time. And we stayed in Hanover. And when I woke up the next morning in Hanover, I thought, I should look and see what they have for yarn shops. Well, they had one that was 3 minutes away from me. So we went to Llama Lane yarn shop. And I met Sandy. She's the owner. And I have to tell you, it is an absolute, I'm putting some pictures in here as I talk. It's in a church. And Sandy lives at the front part of the church. And then her yarn shop is at the back. And so in her shop are 4 of the stained glass windows from the church. It is a yarn store treat for the senses. She has some beautiful yarn in there. She has some local dyers. She has, she just has a great assortment. And on top of yarn, she also has the back part is set up, and she has her long arm computerized quilting machine set up. So she does commission quilting. So Hanover is about a 3 to 3.5 hour drive from where I live, but I've always wanted to do some larger quilt tops, but I've never really been kind of into the quilting of them. But now I know where to go. I've got an in, I've got somebody to talk to, and I don't mind driving 3.5 hours to drop off a quilt because there's a yarn store at the end of the drive. So I want to show you some of the things that I got from Sandy. Firstly,
you'll probably even talk people into going with you and sharing the driving.
Well, maybe, yeah, maybe. I don't know who, but maybe. So the first two things that I got, you've already seen. I got the Richard DeVries yarns from there, but then I also got this, and this is a new to me yarn. It's called Exquisite, and it's a West Yorkshire spinner's yarn. Look at that. Okay, this is true to color. What you're seeing right now is true to color, and it is so shiny and so beautiful, and it is
have silk in it, right?
It does. So it's 80% Falkland wool and 20% mulberry silk. And I don't know if this color has a name. It does. It's called Bays Water. Look at that.
It's gorgeous.
So that's going to be a shawl, obviously, but I don't have one picked out yet. But the yarn called me, so I'm waiting on a pattern to find me.
I know.
And then
I wish yarn would just stop talking.
Right? It was yelling at me from across the store.
I know.
But then she also had
feelings.
She also had a really great assortment of sock yarns, and you and I both we say this all the time. We love the German yarns, and this is a Regia yarn, but I just love the color. There's like mauve, there's turquoise, there's cream color in there. I think it looks like it's going to be like a striping patterning one there. So I had to grab that. It called me too. And then this is a new to me, and I picked up a couple. So one made its way to Noelle's house already.
Yeah, I can go grab mine while you're showing that.
Okay. This is called Nako Boho. And actually, yeah, because your band has the pattern on it, mine doesn't. Okay. So this is there. That's pretty true to color from what I think. It's just really pretty. And then
yikes.
Don't go knocking things down. Don't knock things down again.
No.
And then you can show yours. Yeah. It's so pretty. So there's the patterns, the type of patterns that we'll knit up to. And we both like these because for me, well, it's a superior wearing yarn sometimes because that German yarn just wears forever. But also this is typically the kind of yarn that I like to have, what I call it lives in my car when we used to travel to a lot of places. It's perfect car knitting because it does all the work for you. It creates its own pattern. But anyway, so that's super fun. And that's what I got from Llama Lane. And it turns out that some of our Knit Chat regulars are customers of Llama Lane. They live up there too. So I'm a little bit jealous that they have that beautiful yarn store to go to, but it's definitely not going to be my last time. And Sandy is, she's pretty helpful.
Early in the morning.
Yes.
Get there, ask people to come and knit with us.
Absolutely. And we even stayed in a great place. We stayed at the Grey Rose Suites, and it was such a lovely, lovely place. So I would be totally down with a sleepover that involved yarn too. Anyway, Sandy, I did ask her about her online presence. If you don't live near her, her items are not actually listed online, but she is happy to do Zoom meets with you and put anything together that you might need, and then she can ship it to you. But I was just completely enamored with her yarn shop, and I was so happy that I had found myself in Hanover and found yarn. All right. What else do you have?
Well, I also picked up a skein of this because I really wanted to try it. This is Amble by the Fiber Co. And it is a sock yarn, but it is ecologically superwashed.
Okay.
So whatever the process is that they use or whatever they do. What does it say here? Of course, I can't read because it's way too small. A conscious blend of washable merino wool, alpaca, and recycled nylon. So it's supposed to be a more environmentally friendly process. It feels really nice and soft.
It looks really soft and lofty.
Yeah, I like that color. I think it'll make
Yes.
a wonderful pair of textured socks.
Yes.
So I just wanted to try it. So I picked up a skein of that. I'm not sure what this color is called. It's called Fair Mill. There you go. Anyway. So how about you? Anything else?
Yes. And I think you've got some too. So
yes,
I was thinking until I started gathering things up, I thought, oh, this is a really light acquisition month. But so a coworker had gone out, and it's country yarns, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And she came back and she said, look what I got. These are, I'll show you the white ones first, and then I'll show you what I did with them. So these are United Socks by Katya. And so these are the 75-25. So, and they are little 25-gram balls too. So these are fantastic. Either you can do heels, toes, and cuffs with these. They're perfect. You could do a little baby garment. It feels really nice. It is a super wash, but it feels really nice. Or you can do my latest obsession, which is the 2x2 row stripies. So I told Noelle about it, and they're like just under $4 a ball. So I told Noelle about it, and she says, oh, they're really great, but I don't need more yarn. So she had to go out there and get something. So she sends me a message the other day. She goes, okay, I'm going if you need something. So I had her pick me up. So this was color combo 1. Look at that, pink and taupe. And then I've got color combo 2 is navy and khaki. And color combo 3 is a teal and a pistachio. Look at this. How fun are these?
Okay.
And Noelle may or may not have gotten 15 of them, but look at that. How fun.
So I'm going to put those together to do a Christmas striped sock.
Yep.
Really like that.
Love them.
Of course, I could also add that to it.
You could.
You could always do that. Or this. Or that.
Oh,
yeah,
that, yes.
I kind of got 15 because I couldn't decide.
Oh, I like those too.
That one or that too. Yeah. And again, like, because we were looking at this, right?
Yeah.
This one. And you could totally.
It's the perfect match. Actually, maybe I have the lighter one.
Yeah, I've got the lighter one too.
Yes, it's the perfect match.
Or that. Or there's other colors in there that I could even put that with it.
Yes. So if you're just looking to top up, like if you have some stripy, colorful yarn that you're looking for some solids for, and her site is online. So if you are so inclined and you need to get yourself some tiny little balls of United Socks by Katya, there you go.
She does ship.
She does.
And I think it's a fairly low minimum that you have to buy to get free shipping.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And also, when I was out there, what I actually went out for was I have a couple of baby gifts to do. And I kind of wanted to use yarn that would be machine washable and dryable.
Right.
Right. So here, I just got to pick out the ones that are. Okay. So I got those two. I have a little girl sweater to do. So that's kind of blowing out a bit. If I hold it back there, you can kind of see.
It's really pretty.
I want it to be really subtle, but it's a really pretty pale pink.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ivory color. And then there was another sweater that I'm going to do in. It's still also for a girl, but this is going to be a pullover. And I just really
that's pretty.
And this one is really pretty. It's got like can you see it? It's
really I think I have that color.
Variegated a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Heathered.
Heathered.
They call them heathered. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the DK. And then this is the worsted. So the worsted has like 218 yards and the DK's got like 290.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cost effective.
And it's really soft.
And it's really soft. You know that kids' things are going to end up going in the washer and dryer, but it does have, it's 52% acrylic, 40% wool, 8% nylon.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I
mean,
have an
it feels,
entire tote box of it, Noelle.
do you? Anyway, well,
I love it.
it's
It's
good
great
for
yarn to
basic.
work with.
Yeah, yeah, and they have really nice colors in it. So,
Hmm.
did you have anything else?
No, no,
Oh,
nothing that I'm willing to admit to anyway.
well, I might. Anyway, so when I went to Little Red Mitten today to drop off the shawl, so this is going to go together for a Colorwork sweater. So this is the Barocco. Grab another one of them here.
The remix.
Yep.
Yeah. I like
So
that.
the main color is obviously going to be this color, and then that's for that. And it's looking a little more orangey. It's more burgundy.
No, it looks burgundy to me. Yeah.
Okay. And it's so this is the regular remix. I think last time I showed I got some remix light.
Light.
So
yes.
this is a combination of nylon, cotton, acrylic, silk, and linen. This is a worsted weight. There's like 216 yards. And the pattern that I want to do is it's called Mohair, and it's an Irish designer. And I just saw it on a podcast, and I just loved it. So it's got kind of like a flowery pattern up here at the top, and then the base of it is in. And I just love the tweed look of the yarn. And
yes, it is.
Anyway.
It's nice, and it's soft too. It's right. It's really soft.
Is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and it, even though it's going to be like a worsted weight sweater, it still won't be super hot because it's not 100% wool.
Right.
Because it's still got some silk and some linen in it, so and cotton, so it won't be as warm. So it'll be a good sweater for fall if I get it done.
Oh, you'll have it done. I have no doubt.
So I think that was enough.
I think so.
But that's over a month, and yeah, that's over a month.
Yes, we're on schedule this time, so it's a little bit of I guess life chat on where we've been since we last saw you. I think the last time we got together, we were heading into 2 weddings, one for each of our sons.
Yep.
So that is gone past now.
Yep.
I don't know, where are you at? I'm still having a little difficulty calling her his wife now. I catch myself still wanting to say Damon's girlfriend. I'm not sure why. I guess it just has to grow on me. Maybe it's because they're young. And I still
I don't know. I think I've called Jen, my daughter-in-law, because Mark and Jen have been together for 8 years.
Okay, so that's a little bit different. Well, I mean, Damon and Alex have been together for just over 4 years too. Mm-hmm. So they have been together a long time. Maybe it's just I was so used to saying that it was his girlfriend, mm-hmm. and then they had a very short engagement. So anyway, they are indeed married, and the wedding ceremony was beautiful. And I know you said you had a great day with yours too.
We had a great day. It was actually probably one of the nicest days of the whole summer, and which was perfect for an outdoor wedding. And even they had a smaller reception than what they'd originally planned, but it worked out perfectly. Like I said, it was outside. They had a tent. We had kind of gotten past that really hot, humid weather, so it had cooled off a little, and it was beautiful. Yep. So the 3 little girls were like so cute as flower girls.
They look like they were having such a great day too.
Yes, they were. And Zoe told them, she goes, don't worry. Zoe's 3.5. Well, she'll be 4 in October, but she said, don't worry, I've done this before. So, this is my second one being a flower girl.
She's a pip, that one.
Yeah, and she just started school, so that was exciting. And
yes, yeah. It has been. It seems strange to hear the school buses going past my house in the morning now. It's been so long since I've seen a school bus, right? And I'm hoping that the school buses continue going by my house this year, and that the kids can stay in school. As for the rest,
loves it so far. Absolutely loves it. So.
Yeah, and I heard she made a friend on the first day before she'd even gone into school.
Before the bell even rang, her and this little girl were holding hands, waiting to go.
Perfect. Wouldn't it just be easy? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all make friends that simple?
Yeah, I know. Just to go back to that, like, innocence and.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. As for the rest of what's going on in our family, we are just shy of 5 weeks now and counting for the grandbabe. So I'm just trying to finish things up to get out to her, and then we'll be heading out mid-October. So I'm assuming we'll have one more podcast before we go.
Yep.
And we're just super excited. Like we
Yeah,
couldn't be more excited.
I remember that feeling.
Yeah, the first one, right?
And then it's like you're still just as excited every time I go to see them.
Yeah, I'm already dreading coming home, though. I'm not going to lie.
I know.
I can't get it out of my head. We had another, some good friends of ours just a month ago had a baby. And every time I hold him, I think, oh, how am I going to leave my grandchild behind? I don't know how I'm going to do that. But I'm trying not to think about that because that gets me emotional. So I'm trying not to think about that. And I'm focusing on all the fun things that we're going to do while we're there.
You know, at least now we've at least got video, like chat things, right? Like, so, I mean, when our kids were young, we didn't have any of that.
I know. You had to wait for pictures to come in the mail. And
right.
Yeah. So we are, I guess, in a lucky time in that we can be close with our families when our families, the distance is great.
Yep.
So anyway, that's just a little bit about what's going on with us behind the scenes. I've done no sewing for the shop. All the sewing has been for the baby in the past month. And I still have a few sewing things on my machine over there to get finished. But yeah, and fall is definitely here in Ontario. We still have nice days, but it's we have cool nights.
Yep.
I'm not complaining. I'm here for fall. Fall's my favorite season.
I'm not. I like summer, but I do like fall, and I do like when it's nice and brisk and sunny, and so.
Yeah, and tomorrow we're heading up underneath the bridge to go knitting. This won't be up before then, probably, but we're heading up to go knitting, and that's always a fun morning too, to get together with some friends, because we recognize that we probably don't have too many of those mornings left either, right?
No. But hey,
before the cold weather,
we can if it's a little cool in the morning, we can wear our woolies. We all have stuff that we can keep warm with.
Absolutely,
we can be knitting with our fingerless gloves on.
Absolutely. So I don't think we even mentioned. I was just trying to wrap up in my head. I don't even think that we mentioned to any of the prize winners, please contact us so that we can get your prizes out to you. You can contact us. You can find us on Ravelry. The end slide to this, we don't have to go through it again. The end slide to this will have all of our information on it, on where you can find us on Ravelry or on Instagram, both Noelle and I. So reach out to us in some way, shape, or form and let us know. And then we can get your prize either digitally sent to you or mailed out to you if you won a yarn prize today. So I think that's all we have.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for joining us. And, you know, if you've got a chance and you want to join us for Knit Chats on Tuesday, we'd love to talk to you. And
absolutely. We're having so much fun in there on Tuesday nights.
So much fun. I was thinking about that the other day, and I was thinking how nervous I was the first time, thinking, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And now it's like, I can't wait for it.
I can't wait. It's like the highlight of my week. And what makes me even more excited is when I check in early and our knit chatters are already in there and they're talking amongst themselves. And it just makes me think it's exactly like heading to the coffee shop to meet up with your friends. They're already there. You know, some people get there early. People like me show up late and we just jump into the conversations, and it's the best time ever. And I'm so thrilled in the way our group has embraced everybody new that's come into the group. And every week we're trying to learn new people and new names that are joining in and catch up with the regulars. And honestly, I may not have ever seen you in person, but I literally feel like I know all of them in there now. And I hope someday we can meet. And anyway, we're having the best time. So that's Tuesday nights at 7:00 on this YouTube channel, Eastern Standard Time. Yes. And that's everything we have for this episode. So we'll be back in a month with one of these, or maybe a little sooner if I have to get it done before we go. But anyway, have a great week.
Yeah, take care, everybody. And again, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Okay. Happy knitting.
Happy knitting.
Do I need to go get my cushion?
You need your booster seat because all I can see is your head.
Here it is.